Okay, so now we're going to talk about understanding the buyer's system. And the first step in that is approaching the door. So we're going to go over things you need to pay attention to and also things you need to do when you're approaching the door. What I mean by understanding the buyer's system is very simple, but is complex in the same aspect. Understanding a buyer's system is what separates the cold closers from the warm closers. It's much more than just knowing details about the individuals. It is actually to know and understand their mental process and how they're processing your service. So the first step when you're approaching the door is to gather details. In the action of just looking at a customer's home and property, you should understand a few things about its occupant. In the time it takes you to walk to the customer's door, you should know, for example, this is a middle-aged war veteran, he has lung problems, and his grandkids visit. When you're at a door talking to a customer, it's very important to also be able to relate to the customer in any way possible. So attention to detail is key in this aspect of sales. When approaching a home, be sure to pay attention to what you see. Here are a few questions to ask yourself and a few things to look out for. The first thing you want to look out for is, do you see a medical ramp, handicap stickers on the vehicles, or oxygen in use sign on the door? If you notice any of these details when approaching the door, make sure to touch on the medical aspect of our systems once you get into the house, and if need be, at the door, but only if need be at the door. Also be sure to go into detail about our medical pendants and how they work. Use medical statistics as well to really stress the importance of medical protection once you get in the home. Also, you want to look to see if you see an HD Direct TV or HD Dish Network satellite dish in the yard. If you notice an HD satellite dish in a home, then odds are they have a flat screen HD television. So be sure to stress how a burglary occurs every 14 seconds and how one of the hottest things on the underground market right now are flat screen televisions. Also keep in mind, when you see a satellite dish, it very well may be a sign that the customer has good credit, seeing as most satellite providers require a decent credit score. Something else you want to look out for is, what can I relate to? So pay attention to anything that stands out to you personally. For example, if you see a Colorado Rockies flag in their yard, then talk about the Rockies with the customer if you know about them. If you happen to notice a veteran sticker on their vehicle, then thank the customer for their service, or talk about someone you know that is currently serving our country. Anything that you can use to relate to the customer, you have to capitalize on that and use it to your advantage. So again, when you're approaching the door, you want to make sure to gather as many details as you possibly can. You really want to make sure to just soak in all the information and to get a mental picture of their yard. Remember it. Do you see toys? Do you see a playground? Anything like that. And a lot of times you can tell what type of or what age range lives there. If it's a middle-aged, elderly, a lot of times just by looking at the house, you can kind of guess the age of the occupant. So something else we're going to talk about now is called sneak peeks. When a customer opens their door to talk to you, you have approximately 2 to 3 seconds to observe everything you see inside their home. Pay attention to things that catch your eye. For example, do they have pets? Do you see kids' play toys on the ground? Do you see a flat screen TV? Do you hear music playing? Do you see a knick-knack stand with collectibles? By observing everything you possibly can, you can use this to your advantage. For example, if you see they have pets, once you get in the house, you may want to touch on fire protection. If they have children, be sure to pitch medical once you get into the house. If they have expensive items such as flat screens, then be sure to pitch security. And if you hear music, talk about the song you're listening to. You want to get them comfortable, and you want to try to stick to the pitch and redirect if they have an objection, but sometimes it's nice to use the information you've learned to maybe handle that objection if need be. But if you can just redirect and get back on your pitch, that's what you need to do. But it's important to have as much information as you can on the customer. So once the customer has opened the door, you've knocked on the door, the customer's opened the door, there's some things I want to talk to you about. When you first knock on the door, make sure to knock loud enough that the customer can hear you. You don't want to knock timidly, they may not hear it. And also, people wonder, why, I've had people ask me before, why were you knocking so quietly? And that's crazy, but people People respond to you better if you knock confidently and loudly on the door. Now, you might not necessarily want to knock like you're the police, but you want to knock loud enough that they know you're there to talk to them, and you know you're knocking out of confidence. So you want to knock loud enough they can hear you for sure. Also, after you knock on the door, you want to step back. So you want to step back from the door. This is very important. You want to be far enough away from the door that the customer can open the door and come outside. That's what we're shooting for, is to get them outside talking to you. So you always want to step away from the door, and you want to try to get them to come out and talk to you. Also, you do not want to be standing straight facing the door when they open it. That's not good. You want to be turned to the side. You want your right side to the door. This is very important. Do not stand straight facing the door. They're going to open the door and immediately see a confrontational body language, you know, straight across. It's kind of this push-pull kind of conversation, and that's the, you know, that's what it portrays to the customer, that this is going to be confrontational. So you want to be standing completely to the side and have your right side pointing at the door with enough room for the customer to come out. Again, you want to be looking busy. You want to be looking at your paperwork in your binder, you know, like, okay, you're checking to see if this is the right address. Now, you're not checking anything, but to the customer, when they open the door, they're going to see you standing, looking at something, looking like you're checking that you're at the right address. You know, you want to look professional, and you're really going to portray that, okay, he's here for a purpose to them, or she's here for a purpose to them, and you want to portray that to them to get them outside to talk to you. It's very, very important you get them outside talking to you, or you just, you know, get them talking to you in general. That's the main goal. Now, again, if they open that door, you have space, you have distance, you look busy, you look like you're looking to check you're at the right address, you know, on your paperwork, then they're going to wonder why you're there. They're going to come out and talk to you. Hey, what's going on? And, you know, at that point, it's your job to pitch them and to properly deliver the pitch, okay? If you memorized it correctly, if you've recorded yourself, you sound good, you know, I've approved that you sound good. I'm sure by this point we've worked together on the phone, and I've heard your pitch multiple times, and we've, you know, kind of crafted it down to a skill. Then when you properly deliver this pitch, everything is going to come out perfect. And that's where it needs to be. They need to see you standing out there confidently. You need to knock confidently on the door, and you need to confidently deliver this pitch. That's going to be very important. Again, if they give you any objections, immediately redirect. You want to redirect. Always redirect. Okay, now if they're still staying on a subject after you redirect, that's why it's important to have gathered these details and to get the sneak peek. Then you can use that information to try and kill that objection. So it's very important to have those, you know, bullets loaded in your gun, so to speak, as we call them. Any information you learn, we consider a bullet, and you need to have as many bullets as possible, because you better believe the customer is going to take many shots at you, so you need to have your gun loaded, ready to come back at them. So you want to make sure, again, to be confident throughout this whole process. If you're confident, that's really going to show to the customer, okay, well, you know, he's really here to sponsor my home. That's cool. He's not some salesperson. He doesn't seem unsure. He seems confident. You know, they're going to see you more legitimate than they would see someone else coming up to their door trying to sell them something. And that's the image you want to portray. That, oh, you're just here to talk about, you know, sponsoring their home. Like it's no big deal. You get 2 sponsorship homes a day, and they have a nice yard, so you're going to go ahead and sign them up. That's the mentality you need to have. You have to have the mentality that this isn't something that you talk to every neighbor about, even though it is. You want to have the mentality that this is, you know, something special that only they can get, which in reality it's not, but you need to portray that to the customer. It's very, very important that you portray that to them. Now, once you've pitched, redirected, you're going to be going into the close. This is the last part of the pitch. You want to confidently close. Again, you're going to say, how many doors do you have? Is the case, okay, so that's 3 doors. 1 front door, back door, and a side door. Perfect. Now the casing on this front door, is that standard or extended? And you're going to point immediately to the top of the door. And they're going to go to look, but again, they're going to be confused. They're not going to know what you're talking about. And before they say anything, you want to jump right in. There should be a lip at the top of the door. And again, they're going to look at this lip, and they're going to be confused. and then you're going to go into, here, let me slip my shoes off and show you. So this happens very, very quick. How many doors do you have? Oh, I have 3 doors. Okay, so that's a front door, back door, and a side door. That's right. Okay, now is the casing on this front door standard or extended? Look right here at the top of the door. Yeah, look right here. There should be a lip on the top of the door. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. Should I slip my shoes off? Do this confidently. Show confidence. Portray confidence. You want to vomit confidence on these people. When you do this, you take that step forward to show them that you're going to come in. They're going to let you in the house. And, you've closed them. So that's the close you want to work on. Not closing the sale, but closing on getting in the house. That is very, 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 very important that you close on getting in the house.